Hey everyone, so 8.17 had a few changes, but it's probably more just settling down from the bigger ones we've had in past recent patches. I don't know about you, but the game actually feels pretty good at the moment to play, even though we definitely have some stronger champions, which is what we're going to take a look at today. So timestamps and a list of the champions are going to be down in the description for you, but we're going to start as always with AD carry, and this is the first time where I don't think any AD pick is actually not viable. Like, you could play anything and it wouldn't be that bad. Like, everything can win, I guess, but Tristana is the first one that I want to talk about. It might seem a bit weird, but especially at higher ranks on a good player, she is amazing. The first thing is she is amazing with a lead. If you get ahead, you can really use it properly. You can be really aggressive, you can jump in, you can use your explosive charge, you can use your ultimate as well to finish somebody off, but it's really easy to use your damage. You're going to be able to solo carry with that, which is great, and take advantage if people overstep because you can jump in onto them and pretty much duel them, especially with your ult. That's great, but for a crit champion, it's kind of hard to get ahead, right? Well, not so much with Tristana. She is good in the lane phase with an aggressive support player who is going to jump in and set everything up. She has a lot of damage and a lot of follow-up if somebody goes in. When you kill somebody as well, afterwards, if you're left alone with the tower, you nuke towers really easily. So that is going to be more gold for your team and a higher snowball, which is even better for winning a game and closing it out. I think it helps as well. The crit items are cheaper, and if you get a lead, which you should do with Tristana, or hopefully you do, 2 to 3 items, you're going to get that a bit sooner into the game, and you're going to start to pop off once you have your Infinity Edge and your crit. Lucian is very different, but the new skin came out. It's so good, so obviously he's going to be good at the moment, right? Jokes aside, he's actually one of the best early game AD carries. You've got the damage, you have the dash to dive in, or you can leave obviously as well, so you're pretty safe. He works really, really well though with crowd control support, so we have a lot more now. So like Thresh, Leona, and Alistar who can go in, be a front line, but keep them in place. I think Lucian is easy to play early game. You're going to get a lead probably most games, and then no other AD can really duel you, to be honest, either, so you can't really mess it up that bad, and you can also handle like other bruisers and stuff who are going to dive on top of you. After that stage, when you get to mid to late game especially, it's more down to you. Like, can you combo quick enough? Are you going to play the team fights well? Are your mechanics good enough, I guess? You are decent versus tanks though, because you're going to get your Blade the Ring King and your Armor Shred with the Black Cleaver, or squishy targets as well. You can burst them, but there are more crit AD carries coming back at the moment like Tristana, right? And those are easier targets for you to focus down. The other 3 rounding us out for the AD carry role is Miss Fortune, still probably the best AD carry in the game. Your burst is just ridiculous. Ultimate damage is crazy and very hard to play against in the lane phase. Kai'Sa is insane with a lead, or if you can wait for late game instead, kind of like Tristana actually. She's pretty hard to focus though, because she has her ultimate and her stealth as well, and such high damage. Jinx is a bit similar to Trist as well actually. Nukes towers down really fast with her minigun, and one reset in a team fight means very easy cleanup. You've also got really good synergy with Storm Razor and your rocket. So my new AD for 8.17 is Sivir. She's come back quite a bit this patch, a bit weird, but definitely one to watch. A Storm Razor is a big reason. It's really good for the burst, but it also makes every W bounce crit as long as the first does and you use it with Storm Razor, which can up your team fight damage. Your Q buff as well means that you can poke, you can trade, and you can fight a little bit more. Then you ultimate your team into fights and have a really, really good mid game at like 1 to 2 items. That is kind of like Sivir's strong point at the moment. Mid lane has had the most changes recently with all of the rune nerfs and the burst going down a little bit. Kassadin is kind of the superstar of this patch though, in my opinion. He is a late game machine, but they buffed his early game this patch with his ultimate cooldown going lower at rank 1 and 2. He's also had AP ratio buffs and Q shield buffs, but it isn't just that. The game has slowed down a tiny bit, so we're more likely to reach items that he actually needs. Also, we can go back to tier and Rod of Ages now and not lose before they stack them up, which is great. Also, Fleet Footwork was buffed for AP users, which gives him sustain and helps him farm or survive a bit more. Even AD assassins have been nerfed, which is how you would normally beat him really. Pick a Zed or a Talon or something, but they aren't as strong, so it's really all come together. Kassadin can carry harder than a lot of champions right now. If you cannot shut him down pre-6, then you're probably going to have a really tough game. Fizz is the other one for today. It doesn't seem as fussed with the rune nerfs, or not as much as some others anyway. Fizz has a stupid amount of damage after that mini rework, and it doesn't take very long to take someone out. He's also not bothered if games go a bit later like most assassins. He scales really well, so he can keep doing his job no matter if it's a really early focus meta or a late one. He hard counters a lot of mages or melee matchups that we see at the moment, so it's a little bit of an easier lane phase than what we'd normally get, which is really good. Probably like one of his weakest phases. Then after one item, maybe even before that actually, you can start to roam and impact other lanes, right? Nabbing a few kills and getting some extra gold. With burst slowing down as well in the game in general, I guess Fizz just stands out now more because he can still do his job. He can still burst people despite that, and we all know a fed Fizz can pretty much 1v9. Ahri is still a very solid mid lane to climb with as well. Safe, reliable, does good damage, has some sustain and wave clear and stuff like that, but you can also roam very well, and all you have to really do at the moment with this kind of like current Ahri is just hit your charm. LeBlanc is arguably the best mid lane champion based on skill level. I think a good one will take over the game, and we even see that in pro play, which is pretty rare honestly, but now she has her one-shot combo back, she can do a lot more in the game. That's why she's so good. Malzahar is kind of the newish one that I want to talk about. He has way more damage than we expect, and he's even a great counter to what we have in the meta. First up, he can never really be a bad pick because of his ultimate, but chances are you're going to be pretty farmed when you come out of lane by just AFK pushing, and then you have a lot of damage with that as well. It's tough to play against, to be honest. He's going to catch you with his ultimate in fights, but in the lane phase, he contains the enemy mid laner by pushing, and they just can't really roam, and that is a big win for your team. So jungle is a little bit weird right now. There are like 10 champions I would say that stand out as pretty top tier, way more than any other role. Kayn is the most notable change in this patch though. We kind of thought it might be, or we had new buffs this patch for his E, a longer duration rank 1 and more move speed for the assassin style. So that improves his early phase a little bit in the game, which is his worst by far. Kayn is not that good before he transforms, but amazing afterwards. It is a big jump up, whichever you go for. You're way more useful, and to be honest, red and blue Kayn have good win rates on the current patch. Dark Harvest is the other part to this as well though that I do want to mention. It kind of goes all in on that later game style. The electrocute nerfs, the change does less now, but you can proc it more often. It's not that useful for a jungler at all. It's better if you can use it in the lane phase to trade. With Kayn, you're already trying to scale a little bit to transform anyway, so you basically just do that with your keystone at the same time. So now I know a lot of people won't want to do this and pick this champion, but Rammus is actually a good bet for some LP right now. His early still isn't that good, but once you've got a few levels and you're a bit tankier, you become insanely difficult to kill. You also do a lot of damage with everything in your kit and Thornmail in there at the same time. It's a kind of ridiculous. Taunt counters a lot of lower health carry champions that we have right now. It makes them hit that Thornmail, which is even better. And you've also got Engage, right? Especially with Righteous Glory or Deadman's, which is really important for this meta to catch people. Basically, think of it like this. AD carries are supposed to be the ones to kill somebody like this, like Rammus, right? But tank busting items were nerfed, so they can't really do that. So that's what makes it difficult. Nidalee with Dark Harvest is top tier at the moment, maybe the best jungler in the entire game. Add in a Lich Bane on top of that, and the burst from both is insanely high, especially if you can get a lead. But like even late game, it makes her better, which traditionally is like her worst phase. With games slowing down a little bit and more tanks to bonk as well, Jax is still going to be like the most staple jungler that you can probably play, and honestly one of the best to climb with at lower ranks because he is simple but really effective. Graves is still the best jungler overall though if it's not Nidalee. Good damage, good control, farms well, controls scuttle, objectives, can gank as well, but ultimately he can carry when he has enough items. The damage is ridiculous. I want to talk about the new Nunu though this time around. He can be really good, but he's not insane either. Tank is probably more reliable than AP, but if you have a hyper carry to protect as well, like Kai'Sa or Tristana, then it becomes even better. He is a massive meat shield, but he has a lot of crowd control now and disruption with the rest of his kit, and decent engage at the same time. So right now it seems like that kind of style with Aftershock and tank is the way to do it. So support is where I think a lot of the shot calling in the game and playmaking has kind of fallen into at the moment. They control the lane phase, but they often set up the fights after that. Now Thresh is one of the best at doing that, and he has been getting steadily stronger over the last few patches. He is insanely strong in the lane phase, and this whole like ignite and fight meta is exactly what somebody like that wants. Against other engaged champions, he has ways to beat them though. Like often it's the flay, the engage, and then kind of turn it around with the hook afterwards. And even versus damage champions, he can lock them down to kill them. So that is lane phase kind of sorted, but then after that, you're able to roam well. You can catch people with your hook. You can always be setting up fights that way. You've also got the flip side of this though, where you can lantern, you can box with your ultimate, you can flame, you can even hook to protect your team. So you're never going to be completely useless whether you're going aggressive or defensive. Blitzcrank is kind of like the best or one of the best early game choices for support on 8.7 now. We don't see him as much as we used to, but I mean he is one of the few who actually beats Nami normally, which is pretty impressive. We've got a lot of picks as AD now that work really well with him, like Misfortune or something like that. Lucian as well, that want to fight. You just need some sort of engage, which is what Blitzcrank provides. You've also got a lot of easy targets to hook and screw over. Pretty much any hook is going to get a flash, at least, if not a kill. A lot of people now go for Moby Boots, they go for the support upgrade, but then into Righteous Glory straight away, which seems to work wonders. Nami, as I said, is still insane, should bully any melee or weaker laner, and can heal your AD to keep them in the lane phase, which is good, but a good one is just too strong, really. Like, I'm surprised she hasn't been nerfed, to be fair. Leona, you've got to be aggressive with this one, but if you are, then she is such a good choice again. You're so tanky with the new W buffs, it's ridiculous, but you bring a lot of damage and engage at the same time. Morgana is always going to be strong when we have a meta with a lot of crowd control, like with Thresh, Blitzcrank, and Leona, even a bit of Nami in there as well, but it's a lot about how good she can be in the lane phase if she can hit her bind. So top lane had a little bit of a shake-up, but nothing massive. The biggest thing is probably the influx of tanks coming in. Irelia is not a tank, but she is a lot better after her buffs this patch. They made her Q do more damage to minions. It just means there is a higher chance to get the reset, to escape, to make plays. She relies on that reset for a lot. Irelia is almost the perfect solo queue champion in my opinion though. She has room to show skill, but at a basic level, she can actually still be useful as well. She's strong in the lane phase, or she can be, as she can get a lead and then accelerate her build with the added gold. That is so good because she scales well, so there's no massive rush. You will be good later, but if you get ahead, obviously you get those items faster, which is even better. Now Poppy is a tank, kind of. That is the one that I'm most afraid of as well. She does a lot of damage, and especially early to mid game has real control over how the game is played. What I mean is you're probably going to win the lane phase if you play it smart. You have the stun, you have the shield, but you have the bubble, which messes a lot of picks up. Then you're going to start to run around and engage on people though. You have the move speed, you can dive towers, you stun them against the wall, you stop them jumping away. It's a really effective way to engage. That is probably going to give you a lead, and then you just don't really die, at least not for a while anyway, and that's made worse when you can probably solo the enemy AD carry. There are a lot of good matchups for her just because of a W as well. Like Fiora can't dash, for example, a Camille can't jump away, Ornn can't even ultimate, and Yasuo can't dash. Now all of those things are key to their kit. Jax is a lot like Irelia, honestly, are really good, and now especially with the game slowing down a little bit more, giving him more chance to scale through the game. The Garen nerfs didn't really do that much at all. He's still a really solid pick for solo queue and a brute to play against in the lane phase. Probably one of the hardest things when he runs at you with his grasp up. Sion is most likely the best tank in the game at the moment. He gets insanely tanky, just doesn't die, has amazing engage, and still does actually have some good damage. So those are going to be my picks for 8.17. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Those are going to be the best ones for solo queue, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching until the very end, and for now, I will leave you with the robots.